Hello, hello. Welcome to the Mark Attwood Show, Adventures in the Cosmic Suit. Before I start, don't forget, links in the description below this video. Get on my email list, have a look at the other links. My courses are there. There are other links there of really great things that help support this channel. No obligation, but up to you. So, today we're going to talk about all the stuff that's been going on. And one of the most interesting things about the period of spiritual quarantine that we've been in is the time that it's given people to be creative. And, you know, a lot of us are a bit, shall we say, ahead of the curve, and we're waiting for other people to catch up. People like me, I produce poetry videos. Other people have written songs. My guest today is Brian Timlin. Hi, Brian.
Hi, Mark.
And Brian has authored a book called Lightworker No.17. Haven't you?
I have, yeah. I started last year and took me about 7 months, and published it in May this year.
That's very good. We spoke, I think we first met about a year ago, and you were talking to me about education. Do you want to talk a bit about that as well?
Yeah, I've also just recently finished a program called Quantum Learning, the Quantum Learning Program. And that's basically based on my experience in the education system. I feel that they're pouring information into people like they're a blank slate, you know, dogmatic basically, rather than developing the person and their own perceptions and their trust of their own mind. And for a long time, I've realized that the reason that people weren't seeing how the world was operating and to change it and change their own sovereignty in their own world was that they weren't trusting their own perceptions. They weren't developing their own perceptions because of the educational system. And for some reason, you know, people like you and me, something flicked and we switched that on, you know. But a lot of people, you know, I think we're coming to the time now we need to create the new world, and we need to change how people are learning, because the next generation, we don't want them to be brainwashed and stuck in the matrix, you know.
Well, it's timely that you say that. Did you see the Irish papers this weekend talking about revamping the junior cert and including educating kids on pornography?
Jesus. Yeah, well, I hope that's just another wake-up move by the good side.
I think it is, but it's still shocking to see it on a headline.
Yeah.
But, you know, what's it going to take?
I saw something about babies being killed in California with all that Roe versus Wade stuff, that they were actually killing babies after birth. They were doing an act, trying to bring in an act to be able to do that. And that must be a wake-up call as well. That's horrific.
Yeah, I saw a video yesterday of a woman saying that the abortion should be made legal to the age of 18. And she was talking about putting children down.
Jeez. Well, that has to be wake-up stuff. You know?
It's got to be, because that...
Yeah,
I mean, they did go that far anyway. You know, I think it was in New York or California where they said it was full term, which is...
Well, they're doing it with the medicines and the vaccines anyway. They're just not telling you about
it. This is supposed to go on. This is supposed to go on YouTube.
Sorry, mate. Yeah.
I had a chat with him beforehand, so don't say the V word. And 3 minutes in, he says it.
Yeah. I'm not as experienced as you guys.
Vaccines are brilliant. I love them. Let's see if that keeps me on YouTube. Yeah, well, we're on the same page with the education. But you, like me, you think a lot of this is part of the movie, part of the wake up. And obviously you wrote this book because you felt strongly the need. Where did the book idea come from? Did it just come to you in the night?
The novel? Yeah, the video, I made a little video on the website, and it's just, I just describe how it happened. And how it happened was I was going to do the learning program. And then I had this, maybe my higher self or something was just write a novel. I was like, and I've never, you know, I don't know how to write. I didn't know how to write a novel. I hope I do now, but I just went for it and learned how to do it. I started asking myself questions on what the plot is, who the characters are, how they fit together, and then I made an outline. And once I had the outline, I just wrote freely within that, and then it would change the outline. You know, you get surprised by creative stuff, and then it morphed itself into exact story that I wanted, and everything that I wanted to say to help. The idea was to help more people to first of all, for people that are awake to really enjoy it, and then to have something to hand to people when people are waking up or asking questions, or when the EBS happens. How many people are going to be going, well, what's going on? And you can go, here, this book actually has everything in it, pretty much.
Read this.
Yeah. It's 250 pages obviously in story form. So it's much easier to digest than if you gave people, 1,000 pages of read all these links to that we've been consuming one step at a time all the way,
Yeah, I mean, I've been reading books like this for 20 odd years. People aren't really going to have the time to wade through all of these.
Yeah.
If you're watching this, by the way, people, that is an amazing book.
You're talking about people that have been consuming this stuff for 20 years. So the people that want to catch up, they need it in one story, quick format. Okay, I'm pretty much up to speed now, and then they can go from there and go more in depth, and
Yeah, well, I told this story the other day. I was talking to an artist the other day, and she said, "What is going on?" I went, "How do you sum it up really, really quickly?" I said, "Well, so basically, there's some interdimensional reptiles that have been running the world for a long time, and we've been fighting them for billions of years, and it's all coming to an end." And she went, "I think you're right."
Yeah.
I mean, these ideas. I mean, David Icke talked about reptilians 25 years ago.
He did. And do you know something? That was the only thing that I didn't agree with Icke on for many years.
Yeah.
Until the last 2 years, I went to my own next level, and then I started to realize, geez, there's a lot more going on here than you realize, Brian.
But I mean, it was a real sticking point for me for a long time.
Yeah,
a real sticking point. But when you look into the history and you look at the statues and you look at the writings and the paintings and
the Vatican,
they've been there forever.
Yeah.
So but it also became just a really easy way to slag off conspiracy theories. Oh, he believes the Queen's a lizard. That's the end of that then.
Yeah, well, the way some things are a jump. So that was my idea with the novel, that it's very subtle. It subtly builds up. You can start with I think it's better for people that are just asking questions. It's better to start with, well, the lobbies have been funding the politicians and the elections and the parties. So it's obviously completely corrupt. And I mean, that whole system is going to lend itself to all these issues. And nobody's going to disagree with you on that, because that's step one. You know what I mean? And so it's like I build up in the novel more gradually. I don't even get into like intergalactic really. I touch on it, but I just felt that the normal person wouldn't be ready for that level yet.
Well, they're not.
Why not? Yeah. Okay.
No,
well,
they're not. I mean, I was introduced to somebody the other day at the cafe around here, and I happened to know that this person had heard of me and described me as the UFO nutter. So I went, "Oh, pleased to meet you. I'm the UFO nutter." And she went, "Oh, yeah, it was really funny." But
it is difficult, that disconnect, because like people that know, if you know something is true, and then other people, that's just 5 steps further than where they are.
Yeah.
Like, it's a difficult thing to deal with, that we have been dealing with directly in the last 2 years, 2.5 years now.
Well, I know it's been a long time.
Yeah.
I mean, you've been through the same process as me. You've probably lost friends and family through all of this.
Yeah. Well, certainly disconnected to a lot of people. I'd hope to reconnect. I hope they wake up, basically.
Yeah, well, you mentioned the EBS, so you believe that's going to happen?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I have my predictions in the book as well. Because I have to have an ending, so I have to predict, basically. Okay. So yeah.
Well, go on. Don't give the plot away, but
no, I'm not going to give. No, I can't say much more than
buy the book.
Yeah.
I'll there's links below in the video where you can go and get.
You see, the truthers will be entertained, because they'll be going, well, why? How does he think this is going to end? Or
Yeah. Well, I really, really hope the EBS happens. I can't think of any other way of doing it.
No, because the people that have woken up already through the slow process, we're at the end of the line with that. There's nobody else is going to wake up through subtle methods.
No.
I don't think.
Hence crazy headlines. And did you see that picture of Joe Biden's socks the other day?
45. I mean, Jesus Christ, like they're just taking the piss,
Yeah, and they must be using
Take a picture of the feet, so the people that are not awake, they'll always have an excuse.
Mm.
They'll always have the cognitive dissonance back to the matrix. Those people that are stuck, the only way to wake them up now is an EBS.
It's the only way, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, military tribunals, they need to see Clinton, both of them, in a tribunal admitting to their crimes.
Yeah. But will they believe it? We all know how good CGI is because it's being used every day on everybody.
Yeah, and they've been prepping that the bad side as well.
Exactly.
Yeah, so, but when Jassara comes in after that, eventually they are going to go, okay, something has changed big time here.
Yeah. There's no question that's happening. There's no question.
Yeah. Sure, they're all resigning, all the governments, and the mandates are gone, and Roe versus Wade overturned the Supreme Court. I mean, that would have never been, not a notion would it be,
Especially with a democratic government in sitting in office.
Yeah. Supposedly, yeah.
Supposedly, yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, you've got all these things. But when people are getting a bit fed up, and I'm a coordinator in CC, kind of coordinator, and we try to help people through this, and we give them intel, and some of them will be like, oh, here we go, another date. You try to stay away from dates, I guess, at this stage, but I try to say it's event driven, and in my view, the patterns are all pointing towards the changes that we've been told about. With all the things we just mentioned there.
Yeah. Nothing can stop what's coming.
No. And that's the subtitle of the book as well, by the way.
You nicked that off somebody.
Of course it is, yeah. But it's the tagline of the Truther movement, I guess.
Well, I've put "Where we go one, we go all" in about 3 poems, so don't worry about it.
Yeah.
So
nobody started it anyway, do they? Maybe Q did, I mean.
17.
Oh, sorry. 17. Sorry. Yeah.
Lightworker number 17. Do you want to give an elevator pitch for the book then, Brian?
Yeah. It's about the Great Awakening and what has happened in the last 2.5 years and what is on the cards for the future, in my view. And it's in a story format that you'll find very entertaining, I believe, because the people that have read it, they all seem to love it. So, and they're truthers, and just I think everybody will need something to hand to people when the shit hits the fan. Where do you start with people like? So to me, you have to give them a story like this that will kind of explain it all together. And then you can. I think once they've read the general outline, then they could ask you questions after that, more specific ones. Like I know people like my dad is a bridge grandmaster of bridge. Played for Ireland for years and years. Extremely bright mathematically, but he's totally in the matrix. And even though he saw me get better from an incurable illness in my 20s, and he's still the one that he goes to for advice when he needs health advice, like when he feels his back's against the wall. I'm the one he goes to.
Yeah, well, I'm the same.
Yeah, but he can't get himself out of reading the papers and the Irish Times is God, and like he's gonna, like, some people like that are gonna need a book to read, in my view.
Oh, my mum as well. I mean, I've been trying to educate my mum for years, but if I go around the house, she's got all Danielle Steele and all this crap, all this sort of paperback pulpy shit that And I
So
know
my dad just read Commander in Chief. I don't mean to be picking on my dad because there's so many other people, but he just read Commander in Chief. You know, the one on 45. That's see there.
Oh, I have not. No, what is that?
No, I'm just saying I said
Oh
45.
no, no. So is
The
that a
first
book?
time I realized I was about to hit
Well
a bleep.
done. Is that a
Yeah.
book that's slagging him off?
Oh, completely. Yeah.
I've not heard of that.
Desperate book altogether, I'd say. Yeah.
It's amazing. The hatred for 45 in Ireland is unbelievable.
Yeah, it is. It's weird. Like
I
I
was in,
look at it and I just say, you know, what's objective about what he's actually done, and they can't even really answer it. Like, you know,
they don't know.
yeah.
They just go, "Oh, he's racist." I'm like, "What? Where's
Yeah,
the
what are you
evidence?"
basing that on? You know,
Yeah.
and they're like, oh, he didn't deny, he didn't criticize these guys that marched and killed black people or whatever. You know, I'm like, he's done it 187 times. It's on a video. You know, it's just not shown. It's all media spin. You know.
When did you unplug?
About 20 years ago, I'd say.
What happened? Was it with the illness?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
First of all, I had a lot of time to myself. And second of all, I've always asked questions. And thirdly, they told me I'd never get better, and I wasn't accepting that.
What was the illness?
I went looking for things.
What was the problem?
It's hard to know. I was basically knackered all the time. So it's called Epstein-Barr virus, but I wasn't ever diagnosed, so it's hard to know, you know. They'll tell you you're depressed and they want to put you on Prozac and stuff, but I wasn't depressed. It was just, there was something wrong. Well, maybe, like, obviously the mind's involved as well, but something was wrong. That was making me so tired, you know. So I got out of it through detox and antiviral herbs and antibacterial stuff and oxygen treatments, and I came across a thing called the healing codes, which was a mind psychology, energy psychology, fabulous, and that really helped me. So it was, you know, probably clearing a lot of noise that I had, and I think that probably came from me being somebody that was very open to change. Like, I'd probably been rejecting the cabal system for a long time, and that was building in me, you know, and it was very difficult. So I had this weight on me. I think that's probably what caused the illness, really. But I came to terms with that over time, and then got out of the problems I had.
Well, I think, you know, a lot of people come to the awakening through illness. My awakening was accelerated by illness. I started waking up in 1990, and then it just, things accelerated it. But getting really overweight and really ill and in hospital and seeing teenagers die next to me really really shook me out of it. And then I had to look into, then you have to look into alternatives, and you know, hawthornberry saved my heart. And then you just keep going from there and there and there and start to learn all these other things.
That I found some things and I was like, this works really well. Why is this not being used?
Yeah.
That question opens the whole can of worms, like.
And we've all been trained to misdiagnose ourselves. So if you have diarrhea, for example, you think that's not a good thing. Well, actually it is, because your body's detoxifying. You know, it's just they've inverted everything in it, even in our own minds. And it's a wonderful process to go through, because once you know, I'm never ill.
Yeah.
Everybody else gets ill. I don't. Apart from a snotty
I
nose.
still do an odd time, but it's more when I'm under huge stress or something. No, I don't either, and I know how to deal with it if I feel a little bit sniffly anyway.
Yeah, exactly. And a few near deaths don't do you any harm, because they bring you closer to your maker.
Yeah. Every time I go through something like that, it's amazing. 2 days, the difference. Like, it's like you've reached a new point. But I think we're going through this huge energy boost, all of us, ascension at the moment.
How's it showing up for you?
that I go through times where I feel really stressed, and then other times total elation, and it's like chaos, and then break through to feeling far more in tune with source energy, really.
Do you get have you had some deep spiritual experiences in the last few years?
Yeah, and feeling protected actually from things like that could have gone wrong that never went wrong, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's been quite amazing. That I mean, when 2020 kicked in, that whole year was the attacks were massive, and that went on all the way through 21, and then kind of stopped this year for me. So I don't feel those attacks anymore.
There was ones that seemed like an attack, or maybe it was an attack, and then it was like totally disabled on me, something like that. I had a number of things that happened like that.
Yeah, and I think that'll be the untold story of this whole period. Because so many of us were under attack, and it manifested in the physical. I mean, somebody cut the fuel lines on my car back in after I started this channel, and some guy in a Ford Transit saved my life.
Wow.
By pulling up next to me on the N4. What? You got fuel coming out of your car? Oh. And I pulled out, and I had 2 kids in the car as well. That could have just that could have gone any minute. But I had
an experience in Galway City. I went to Stephen Manning was speaking.
I need to speak to Stephen Manning. I'd love to speak to him.
Yeah, he's an interesting guy. He's done a lot of good work. But so I was walking out. I felt the energies were very strange when I was in there.
This happened to me in Sligo.
Yeah, because it's like you're surrounded by the unawake, and you're this little pocket of awake people. And I was like, "This is dark, man. There's something going on here." And I was walking out to where my car was parked afterwards, and I was just crossing the road there in Eglinton Street. I don't know if you know Galway, but I was crossing the road there, and you've got the 2 roads intersecting. So I was going straight, and there was a car going straight. Well, I thought he was going straight because he hadn't indicated, and so I said, "Okay, I can walk across here." So I was walking across. He hadn't indicated, and he was going right, which was right into my path. And so I had to swerve him, and he had to brake and swerve me a little bit. And as I was going away, I wasn't going to say anything because it could have been an old woman or whatever, so I just kept on walking. Rolls down the window, he starts, shouting absolute abuse at me. So I went back, and I just squared on, and I said, effing indicated at the top of my voice, like roaring at him. And there was 4 of them in the car, and they waited till I walked off, and then they all rolled down the windows and started roaring abuse at me. But they waited till I went away, like. But my heart rate didn't even go up, and that was a moment as well where I felt strong in my paths that we're on.
That's really interesting. You put it that way. I got shouted at once. It was on the way to the demo in Dublin in I think it was August 2020, September. And there was a guy in the shop, the garage here, who screamed at me, "Where's your mask?" And I was totally shocked. I was like, "Oh." Then I started screaming back at him, and then he freaked out and backed off, and then kept shouting at other people about me. He's not wearing his mask. What are you going to do about this?
Yeah.
And I was like this.
I hate that they try to get the herd on their side. Then,
Oh God, yeah. And
that's one of the main arguments you hear as well. Well, why do most people think the way I do? Like as if that's some kind of arbiter of truth, like, you know what I mean?
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, I get your point.
Yeah. I understand now. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, looking at all the Nazis lined up, tens of thousands of them with their arms up. Even as a kid, I was like, how did he do this?
Yeah.
How did he get all these people doing that? And then we're living through the same
thing. We've just seen it. That's how they did it.
Unbelievable.
Fear is very, very powerful. Fear and ignorance, I guess, you know.
I've had a lot of people tell me that I'm really brave and courageous. I never felt like that. It felt like there was no choice but to.
Yeah, there's no choice. Like when you see what they're planning, what they planned, and the Jassara, there's no bailout here.
No.
Yeah.
No. And it's down to people, you know. But it gives other people courage. This is why it's great that you've written a book. And I think there's going to be more books and films made about this time than anything in history. And because the stories are just endless and endless and endless.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's going to be
with the quantum learning program as well. That's like very hands-on. So I'm like that was my original thing. The novel just kind of came in. I was like, wow, this is great. But my humanitarian project is to have learning centers. It's my passion, apart from golf. Like it's my huge passion, and because you know I was good in primary school. I was like joined top of the class or whatever, and then I went into secondary school, and I completely switched off, and nobody could realize why. And it was because I was starting to realize the way that they're educating is totally wrong. And so I really, really believe in the quantum learning program because it can get people to develop their own perceptions and trust their own perceptions and flourish within the existing curriculums. Any curriculum you apply it to, you'll absolutely fly with it. And that's, if I had known that when I was in secondary school, it took me tens of hours of research and understanding to know that if I was 12 years of age now again, I'd be able to develop myself and flourish at school, you know, and develop there's 8 intelligences, only 2 are addressed at school, verbal and mathematical. And this develops all 8 as well.
Well, I just want to prove to the viewers that this is consciousness, because if you type in quantum education system to YouTube, I'm at number 2. And this is one of my early videos, actually, because my own experience of education is that I think I knew at school that it was bollocks, but I was getting into the military, so I had to get certain grades.
Yeah.
So
I didn't have a goal either. Yeah.
Yeah. So I systemized myself as a kid,
Yeah.
and I knew how it worked. I reverse engineered all the exams because there were repeating patterns with exams over the years. And I just studied the ones that had the biggest mathematical probability of popping up. And then I just got, boom, 14 O levels, bang, 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 done. And it was a game, you know, and I didn't realize that as a teenager, but my objective was to fly planes. So I needed to do it. And, but when I had kids of my own, I knew things were wrong right from the get-go. I remember going in to see the headmistress at one of the kids' schools because they'd segregated my kids from the other kids at lunchtime because they had an organic lunchbox with a boiled egg, some nuts, and some fruit, and you know, nice, good stuff, healthy stuff, and well, as healthy as I thought it was at the time. And all the other kids were eating crisps and chocolate bars and blah blah blah. And yeah, she said, firstly, my daughter came home and she told me about the food pyramid that they just learned, where I think bread came above meat and broccoli for healthiness. And I was like, what?
Right. Yeah.
What's going on here? And then the reason they got segregated is because of the eggs, because somebody was slightly allergic to eggs in the school. And I said, all these other kids are eating things full of eggs. What are you talking about? But when I was speaking to the teacher, she literally sounded like a robot. She just started reciting policy at me without listening. She didn't listen to a word I said.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is, and at the same time, they brought in this thing where they were going to fine the parents if the kids were missing from school for any reason that they didn't approve of. And I was like, hang on a minute. And then around that time, I think I discovered Sir Ken Robinson. Everybody watching this, go and look up Sir Ken Robinson, Do Schools Kill Creativity? And then I learned about unschooling, and that Ken Robinson videos, they're fantastic. Unfortunately, he's no longer with us. And I said to the headmistress, have you ever heard of Sir Ken Robinson? She went, no. I said, so you're a headmistress of a school and you've never heard of the world's leading thinker on education? You don't seem to be taking your job very seriously, do you? So then we moved to Morocco, and then we started homeschooling, and we actually started 2 schools, one of which is still going. It's got about 130 students now.
Wow.
We started that with some French
I
guys.
was about to do that when they brought in the masks. And so I was sending my letters and so on. And
Well,
I
yeah,
was
I
like,
thought we swapped emails at around that time,
yeah,
and I took my boys out because I met
you
you at
took them out. Yeah.
Helen's funeral, and you told me about how your daughter managed to go into school without it, right?
Yeah. I started writing my letters, and I was sending them in like legal letters and letters on all of the science, the real science, and the actual law. And they they relented, or else the maybe there was other people doing that as well, and the department basically told them, you can't enforce this. It's a choice based on what the parents and the child decide on it. And I said to Hannah, you're not wearing that mask. And I explained to her why, and she took it on board, and she said, yeah, okay, you're right. And she started going in. She was the only one in there. And fair play to her, she's a very strong character. She never was really phased by it. I asked her every day afterwards, like, anybody annoy you? Or like, no. At the start, one girl came up to her and said, why aren't you wearing the mask? Everybody else is. And she goes, oh, my doctor gave me a cert. I'm not supposed to wear it. That's all she said.
Yeah, I was worried about that because I thought it would cause more psychological damage to be in the school where you're the only one not wearing it than it would to not go at all. So we just took them out completely until the mandate dropped. And you can't, I'm separated. I can't win every battle. My ex wanted them to go.
Well, my wife was supportive of what I was saying.
So
my wife wasn't going to do it herself, but she wasn't going to stop me doing it.
Well, that's good. Well, I reluctantly sent them back, but I will never forget these teachers. And if there are any teachers that participated in that, we're never going to forget, because what you did was child abuse, plain and simple. And saying that you didn't know is no fucking excuse as far as I'm concerned. And there's nothing I can do about you right now. In fact, I don't need to do anything. God's going to take care of you. That's the thing.
Like I know that in one way sounds harsh to me, but it's true. Like, I mean, they have a duty of care. Like, because I know some of these women, and they're lovely people. They think they're doing the right thing, but it's, as you say, you have to know what you're doing, and you have to stand up for what's right. On some level, they knew that they were given into fear and to the like authority bullshit,
Oh, that's why I think the whole thing has been one big test of faith, because at some point your soul knows everything, right? And are you listening to it or not? That's what all of this comes down to. Have you got a connection to God? Because if you did, you would never wear one of these, because God didn't get this wrong.
Yeah.
You would never have this because God didn't get this wrong.
So if you're connected as well, like you get, and it sounds cliche, but you get downloads of truth, and it just flows in you, and you understand context, because obviously every situation is different. There's lots of things that we deal with in life, and sometimes you'll do A, and the next time you'll do the complete opposite, depending on the situation. Like, but I think you're right. It's the connection. You sort of know what you should be doing.
And you and I went to Helen's funeral and had to witness a priest stood outside wearing one of these, doing the service.
Yeah. I mean, religion is not exactly spirituality.
No, I know, but they've been shown up for exactly who they are.
Yeah.
I met a guy a few months ago who said he was on the way to mass and he was putting a mask on. I said, "Are they making you wear a mask to go to mass?" And he went, "Yeah." I said, "Well, do you think God got it wrong?" "What do you mean?"
Yeah.
I'm laughing, but
the bishops, when people are going through the society peace to get their sovereign, their living man or woman sovereignty, sovereignty, they have to. One of the processes is you have to go through the bishop. You have to get disconnected from the Vatican.
Yeah, I've done that.
They're actually like a government agency, like.
You know why they control the world?
Yeah.
Through the Queen and the Vatican, they've got the whole thing sewn up. That's why it's taken so long. It's a big job.
For sure, yeah. But I just found that very interesting that you have to send a letter to the bishop about your own sovereignty. Like, what's the bishop got to do with it? That, you know, the Vatican, as you say, is controlling everything, or did control everything.
I had to send 7 letters out. And I'm trying to remember who to. It was the bishop, the archbishop, the bishop of Dublin, the Taoiseach, the president, I can't remember who else. I think it was the treasurer or something. Just to say, you've got 30 days to respond, but I am no longer part of your system in any way, shape, or form. Now go fuck yourself. And I got letters of acknowledgement. I got a letter of acknowledgement from the Taoiseach.
But they respect people that have knowledge because they're like, oh, this guy gets it. We can't deal with this guy.
Yeah,
you know,
it's very empowering. Have you stopped?
I haven't gone through that yet, but I'm going starting it now.
Well, there's some good guys in Ireland doing a lot of good work around this subject. I went to meet the guys in Donegal running the common. What's it called? I think it's called the Common Law Society. I'm not exactly can't remember, but they've been helping people get out of debt for years. You know, and then there's Stacey's World Rocks in the UK. She's doing an amazing job by reclaiming your direct debits. She's managed to, just with the talk she's been doing, she's got over 1.1 million pounds in reclaimed money for all the people that have done what she's told to do. And this is how we dismantle the system. We've all got to do it, you know. So we recommend buying multiple copies of Brian's book, and don't get it on Amazon. Get it through the links underneath. Then Amazon doesn't get any money. And buy copies for your friends and send it out. And family. I'm going to get one for my mum, definitely, because she will read a book.
Yeah.
She likes reading.
Well, she'll enjoy the story, and it's something might click, you know.
Yeah, I lent the copy you sent me to a friend. She hasn't given me back yet.
Right. She was enjoying it, yeah.
Yeah. She says it's good, but so I've not had a chance to read it yet. But anything else you want to tell us, Brian?
Well, I have an audiobook version as well for people that like to do it that way.
Who's did you read that?
No, Julie McKeever did it.
Oh, Julie did it. She did it in the brilliant. Yeah. Well, she's got a great voice.
Yeah. I was afraid to do it myself. Also, I was didn't have much time at when I had other things on my plate, and Julie offered, and I said, "Oh, brilliant, yeah." So
that's great.
And also with the quantum learning program, I have a premium package which has an audiobook and video demonstrations of all the methods, and one-to-one email coaching with me, and it's that's after the ebook. If you buy the ebook, you'll see the premium package is next, and that will I think people will find that amazing value, you know, because they'll have questions, and I'll be able to answer them for them and make sure that you get great success with it for you and you know.
Who's the quantum education system for?
Well, I've directed it at children because they're the ones that are, you know, doing exams and mainly and have the most curriculums to deal with. But it could apply to anybody that have materials that they need to learn quickly and remember extraordinary amounts of details and comprehend it and develop their own perceptions on the topic, so that you know, a bit like music or whatever, that it becomes your own. That, you know, that first-hand sort of, this is my perception and I own this view on this topic. And when you have that, you're getting very close. The map and the reality is getting really closer, you know. You're becoming far more accurate when you're getting to that stage. And you're developing your intelligences at the same time. So, you know, I think it's a really important thing to have at the moment, you know, because if you don't have it, you're stuck in the matrix, and you might be in between the two, and you're rejecting the system, but that's not helping you either, in a way. Like, you're not rejecting the if you're at school, you still want to get good grades, like, you know.
Yeah, I mean, it's an uphill struggle keeping the kids out of the matrix for all parents at the
Yeah,
moment, because the peer pressure and the
it is. It's very hard. Yeah.
although saying all that, some of the kids around here, they say stuff to me like, if you want to know what's going on, go and ask Mark. He's written loads of really great poems. And I'm like, I get this feedback, and I'm like, really? Did they really say that? And it's great. And the other kids come around and go, what do you do exactly for a living?
But they like your rebelliousness, I'd say. Like, they vibe with that, you know.
Well, yeah, I'm pretty rebellious. Yeah. I'm just
You know,
rebellious.
teenagers have that in them naturally. And like, I think lightworkers vibe with younger people always anyway, because we still have that open
Yeah.
mind, you know.
Well, apparently I'm 4 years old, really. And according to some of my readings, but I just can't stand injustice, and I want to protect all the children. I don't give a shit about all the adults. All the adults can fuck off. They had their chance, but the kids, it's all about the kids.
Well, that's where you like, when it affected my 11-year-old, that's when I just went, no, not having that.
Good. We need
Absolutely
more.
not, you know.
We need more men like you, Brian, because you know the male has been severely lacking in the last couple of years, hasn't it?
Yeah, why do you think that is, that more women were waking up?
Well, I think women generally, this is a generalization, but I think women generally are more tuned in than men. And I also think that men have been emasculated over the last 50 years,
I think that's a big part of it. Yeah.
systematically,
Yeah. Systematically, the male has been.
chemically emasculated. Yeah.
They make it a bad thing to be a male, like, you know.
Yeah.
No, it's not. We have a role, like, you know.
Well, there's always been a war on men. They've always hated it. Why do you think all those Irish young farmers were all sent to the front line in the First World War? Get rid of them. Get rid of the strong men. You know, that's what they've always been doing. They've never changed their tactic. You know, weaken. They, you know, because men are strong. You know, physically. But the women are the ones who really stood up in the. I mean, some of the female warriors that have come to the fore have been amazing and inspirational. But I'm glad to be one of the men.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and
there's divine feminine, and, you know, there's divine masculine, and the more you can tap into the energy when you're a man of the. Well, we have both in us, don't we? Really, no matter what gender you are. But if you're rejecting your maleness as a man, I mean, you're not gonna be very effective in life, and you're not gonna be very connected to your true self and things like that, you know.
Yeah, well, that's why it's good that you know, more and more people like you standing up, putting stuff out there. It's all contributing, and I think that's a wonderful thing.
Yeah, and I took the baton off people like you, because you were doing it. You were one of the first. I remember you on Charlie Ward poems, and I was like, who's this guy? And then I found out later on you were in Roscommon, and I was like, how did he end up in Roscommon? You know, how did he end up in Roscommon?
I ask myself that question every day. This town's been calling me for 26 years, 27 years.
Really?
Yeah, because I cast a girl in a play whose mother was from here, who was best friends with the parents of the woman that became my wife. And then they all retired here. And then I've been coming here. And then my mother-in-law was really poorly 5 years ago and died, unfortunately. And then I suggested we move here. And then we moved here. Then my marriage ended. Then I nearly became a suicidal alcoholic. And then I woke up to all of this and started realizing this was my purpose, being here.
It's very natural place. I've relations in, oh God, am I going to forget? Derrymullen. Derrymullen, I think, is Ballinasloe. Derry, because my mother's from there, and I have relations on her side in Derrylahan. Do you know Derrylahan?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm familiar with Roscommon at times. Yeah.
Well, my grandmother was from Limerick, but she left under duress as a baby, and because they were too poor to feed her. And I just feel like I've come back for that line. And you know, there's a lot of work to be done in this country, as there is in every country. But that's why I'm here anyway.
Yeah.
And I happen to be in UFO country, which is hilarious to me. And you know,
there's a lot in Roscommon, is there?
Anyway, every night.
We've seen it in Helen's place in Athlone, yeah.
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah. And you have it over your house. I've never been to Boyle, but I see you posting about it, and
every night.
Yeah.
Yeah, unless it's really, really cloudy. But even then, we do get to see some of them. But this was the headquarters of the UFO Society of Ireland.
Really? That's interesting.
For years. I'm hoping to make a film about it.
Cool, yeah.
I just haven't got time at the moment because I'm doing too many other things. But you know, that's part of.
I don't see them when it's cloudy, because when I said this at Helen's funeral, when Helen introduced a lot of us to the Sky family and what's up there, like I had no clue about any of that, you know. And so she was like, "You see that? That's not a star. Like, look at it. It's actually flashing. Stars don't flash, and it's moving." And it was moving around, and I was like, "Wow!" I was just opened up to this that night, you know. That was probably a month before she died, or maybe 2 months. And she said they might follow you home now. So when I was driving home,
yeah,
there was one, you know, the same one, and it was there, and it was flashing away. And I was like, "Am I near any airport here?" I was like, "No, you're not." And you know, and then after about 20 minutes, it disappeared as well. You know, so and then ever since then, I've been seeing them over my own house, except when it's really cloudy. I don't see anything then. But sometimes I walk out there and there's this thing like beaming at me, and then when you connect to it as well, it goes even crazier.
Yeah, once you're connected, you're always connected.
Yeah.
And that's what everybody should do. Just go out and connect with the star that you resonate with, and just wait. And they'll come.
But I felt they were telling me something as well, like you're on the right track. You're not crazy.
Well, that's what they did to me. They grounded me.
Yeah.
You know, I wouldn't have been able to do any of what I've done without them.
Yeah.
Because they gave me the strength to realize that, you know, I wasn't crazy, and they are real, and we are infinite. So you just got to hold the line and keep going.
But less so in recent, like the last couple of months, there's been a lot happening. We're getting confirmation in the publicly and stuff as well. But before that, there was a lot of times where it was pure faith.
Yeah,
and
totally.
And you were looking around you, and you were like, every day I asked myself, "Are you crazy, Brian? Are you actually crazy?" You know. And then I go through the things that I went, and I know you're not crazy. You're right. But they started flashing at me, and they gave me belief as well, because I was like, that's not a star, like, and that's moving around, and they're trying to tell me, no, you're on path, you know. And I asked Simon Parks about it as well, because he's very experienced with UFOs as well, and he said to me, he can kind of read people as well, and he was saying to me, your soul is part Palladian and part Andromedan, and they're trying to tell you that you're bang on track, because and he said, don't take this the wrong way, but people get doubts, and I know at times you've doubted yourself.
Yeah.
And they're trying to tell you, no, you're bang on track. Keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah, keep going. That's a good advice. Good advice for everybody. Keep going, and good place to end this broadcast. Thank you for joining me, Brian.
Yeah, thanks a million, Mark. Great to talk to you.
Remember, everybody, the links are in the description below for Brian's stuff. Go and have a look and support his work if you can. And
see what you think of it. I really believe in the work, because it took me a long time to do those things, and to thousands of hours of research, as you know, to when you really believe in something, that's what it takes.
It does. And you owe me a golf lesson.
Oh yeah.
I've only played
much golf at the moment. I'm so busy.
I've only played once in the last 2 years.
Yeah, I can't wait to when I have the abundance, and I can just follow my passions of the running the learning centers, or managing them, and getting other people to that are more passionate about actually running things. and being on the overview about that and the golf, I really want to go at the golf because I never had a chance to. I played since I was 9 and I was good at different times. People were talking about me maybe being really, really good, but every time something got in the way, and then you're older and sponsors won't look at you when you're older, So.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
hopefully the med beds regress you and you can start again.
Yeah, you never know.
You never know. I believe in miracles. But thanks
But
for.
I believe we're entering a miraculous
Well, we're
stage.
already there. We're already there.
Yeah. The
It's
med
already
beds are there. They're in every city, apparently.
Yeah. Well, I still need to see one, but yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Well, thanks for joining me, Brian, and thanks everybody for watching. I'll see you soon.
Cheers, Mark. See you everybody.